The rain was coming down hard that Tuesday night when everything changed. Lisa was working her usual shift at City General Hospital, checking on patients in the ICU, when the emergency doors burst open. Paramedics rushed in with a man on a stretcher, his face covered in blood, machines beeping frantically around him. She didn't know it then, but that man was Daniel Hartwell. And in just 2 weeks, she would be standing next to his hospital bed, becoming his wife. Lisa had always been the quiet one in her family. While her older sister Rachel commanded every room she walked into, Lisa preferred staying in the background. Rachel was a model, constantly flying to fashion shows in Paris and Milan, posting glamorous photos on social media. Lisa wore scrubs to work and came home exhausted, but she loved being a nurse. She loved helping people. It made her feel like her life had purpose, even if it wasn't exciting. Rachel was engaged to Daniel, a tech company owner who was worth more money than Lisa could even imagine. She'd only met him twice at family dinners. He seemed nice enough, quiet, always checking his phone. Rachel talked about him the way someone might talk about a new car they'd bought. Impressive, expensive, something to show off. Lisa never understood their relationship, but it wasn't her place to judge. That night in the ICU, she didn't recognize the man on the stretcher as her future brother-in-law. His face was swollen, his body broken from the car crash. The doctors worked on him for hours. By morning, they'd stabilized him, but he'd slipped into a coma. Deep, unresponsive. No one knew if he'd ever wake up. When Rachel got the call, she rushed to the hospital in designer heels and a coat that probably cost more than Lisa's monthly rent. Their parents came too, looking worried but confused. They stood outside the ICU, watching Daniel through the glass window, machines breathing for him. "How long will he be like this?" Rachel asked the doctor. "We don't know. Could be days. Could be months. Could be forever." Rachel's face went pale, but not in the way someone looks when they might lose the love of their life. She looked scared, sure, but there was something else there. Calculation, like she was doing math in her head, figuring out what this meant for her. The next few days were chaotic. Daniel's grandfather, a stern old man named Harold Hartwell, came down from New York. He was the kind of man who wore expensive suits even to a hospital and spoke like every word was a business transaction. He owned half the company Daniel ran, and it was clear he didn't trust anyone. He called a family meeting in the hospital conference room. Rachel, Lisa, and their parents sat on one side of the table. Harold and his lawyers sat on the other. "Let me be direct," Harold said, folding his hands on the table. "Daniel's company is worth over $1 billion. Right now, with him in a coma, the board is panicking. Investors are pulling out. His cousin is already circling like a vulture, trying to convince the board to declare Daniel incompetent and transfer control." Rachel leaned forward. "But Daniel's going to wake up." The doctor said maybe," Harold interrupted. "And maybe isn't good enough for Wall Street. I need to show stability. I need to show commitment. And the only way to do that is through family." There was a long silence. Lisa's mother cleared her throat. "What exactly are you asking?" Harold looked directly at Rachel. "I need someone to marry Daniel, immediately. It sends a message to the board, to the investors, that this family believes in his recovery, that we're committed for the long term. It protects his medical care and keeps his cousin from swooping in." Rachel's face went through about 5 different expressions in 2 seconds: shock, confusion, anger, and then something that looked like disgust. "You want me to
marry him while he's in a coma?"
"Yes. That's insane. That's business." Rachel stood up, her chair scraping loudly against the floor. "No, absolutely not. I have a career. I have a life. I'm not going to tie myself to someone who might never wake up. I'm not going to be some tragic figure sitting by a hospital bed for years." Their father tried to calm her down. "Rachel, maybe we should think about this." "There's nothing to think about." Rachel's voice was rising now. "I'm 26 years old. I'm not throwing away my future for this." Harold watched her with cold eyes. "Then I'll remove him from life support next week, and I'll make sure his cousin gets everything, including the $500,000 your family owes his company." The room went dead silent. Lisa felt her stomach drop. She looked at her parents, and the guilt on their faces told her everything. Her father's business had failed 2 years ago. They'd borrowed money from Daniel's company to stay afloat, money they still hadn't paid back. "You'd let him die?" their mother whispered. I'd let nature take its course, Harold said flatly. But if this family shows me they're not committed to Daniel's future, why should I be? It was blackmail, plain and simple. But it was legal. And it was happening. Rachel grabbed her purse. Find someone else. I'm done. She walked out, her heels clicking down the hospital hallway. Their parents looked devastated. Her father put his head in his hands. Her mother was crying quietly, and Harold just sat there waiting. What about the other daughter? Harold asked, looking at Lisa for the first time. Lisa's heart started pounding. Me? You work here. You're clearly more practical than your sister, and according to my research, you're single. I'm not. I don't even know Daniel. You'll get to know him. Or you won't. Either way, it's a legal arrangement to protect his interests and ensure his care. 1 year, that's all I'm asking. After that, if he wakes up, you can quietly divorce. If he doesn't wake up, Harold paused. Well, we'll deal with that when the time comes. Lisa looked at her parents. Her father couldn't even meet her eyes. Her mother was looking at her with this desperate, pleading expression that made Lisa feel sick. Please, honey, her mother whispered. We'll lose everything. The house, everything. This is emotional blackmail, Lisa said, her voice shaking. Yes, Harold agreed. But it's also a solution. You'd live in Daniel's house. Very comfortable. You'd have access to resources, and your family's debt would be cleared immediately. Lisa stood up. I need to think. She walked out of that conference room and went straight to the hospital chapel. She sat in the empty pew and tried to breathe. This couldn't be real. People didn't actually do things like this anymore. Arranged marriages to comatose millionaires. It sounded like something from a bad movie. But the debt was real. Her parents' terrified faces were real, and somewhere upstairs Daniel was real, lying in a bed with machines keeping him alive. She thought about Rachel, probably already on a plane to somewhere glamorous, escaping this mess without looking back. She thought about her parents who'd sacrificed so much to raise them, now facing financial ruin. She thought about Daniel, who didn't ask for any of this, who was just unlucky enough to be driving in the rain that night. Lisa had spent her whole life helping people. It's why she became a nurse. But this was different. This wasn't saving a life. This was selling hers. She went back to the conference room 3 hours later. Harold was still there, like he'd known she'd return. I'll do it, Lisa said quietly. But I want the debt forgiven in writing before any ceremony. And I want to make something clear. I'm doing this for my parents and for Daniel's medical care. Not for money. Not for anything else. Harold actually smiled. It wasn't a warm smile. Admirable. My lawyer will have the papers ready by Friday. The ceremony happened the following Wednesday in Daniel's hospital room. Just Lisa, her parents, Harold, 2 lawyers, and a judge who looked deeply uncomfortable about the whole thing. Daniel lay in the bed between them, tubes running from his arms, a breathing machine doing the work his lungs couldn't quite manage alone. The judge read the words quickly, like he wanted to get it over with. Lisa repeated her vows to an unconscious man she didn't know. She slipped a ring onto his finger. Someone took a photo for the legal records, and just like that, Lisa became a wife to a stranger who couldn't even know she existed. As everyone filed out, Lisa stayed behind. She looked at Daniel, really looked at him for the first time. Under all the bruises and swelling, he had a kind face. She wondered what he was like when he was awake. If he was funny. If he was kind. If he even wanted to be saved. I'm sorry, she whispered to him. I'm going to try to do right by you. I promise. The machines beeped their steady rhythm. Daniel didn't move. And Lisa walked out of that hospital room a married woman, with absolutely no idea what happened next. Moving into Daniel's mansion felt like walking into someone else's dream. The house was massive, with marble floors that echoed when Lisa walked, tall ceilings that made her feel small, and more rooms than any single person could ever need. Everything was white and gray and expensive looking. Beautiful, sure, but cold, like a museum where you weren't supposed to touch anything. The housekeeper, Mrs. Chen, showed her around that first day. She was a kind woman in her 60s who'd worked for Daniel for 10 years. She didn't ask questions about the unusual circumstances. She just showed Lisa where everything was and told her to make herself at home. Mr. Hartwell was a good man, Mrs. Chen said as they stood in the massive kitchen. Quiet, worked too much, but always kind, always said please and thank you. Lisa noticed she used the past tense like Daniel was already gone. "He's going to wake up," Lisa said, not sure if she believed it herself. Mrs. Chen just smiled sadly and nodded. That first night, Lisa sat alone in the enormous master bedroom and felt like she was drowning. She'd packed 2 suitcases of her stuff from her tiny apartment. Her clothes looked ridiculous in the walk-in closet that was bigger than her old bedroom. Her cheap toiletries sat on a bathroom counter made of marble. She couldn't sleep in Daniel's bed. It felt too wrong, too intimate for someone she didn't know. So she slept in one of the guest rooms instead, in a bed that probably cost more than her car, staring at the ceiling and wondering what she'd gotten herself into. She still worked her shifts at the hospital. She wasn't about to quit just because she'd married into money. Nursing was who she was. Plus, working kept her sane. It gave her routine, purpose, something real in this bizarre new life. Every day after her shift, she'd visit Daniel in the ICU. At first, she just sat there quietly, not knowing what to do. The nurses would check his vitals, adjust his medications, and leave her alone with him. She'd watch his chest rise and fall with the breathing machine and wonder if he could hear anything. After about a week, she started talking to him. It felt stupid at first, talking to someone who couldn't respond. But the silence was worse. "So I'm living in your house now," she said one evening, pulling a chair close to his bed. "It's really nice. Kind of terrifying, honestly. I used a towel this morning that probably costs more than my weekly paycheck. Mrs. Chen is teaching me how to use the fancy coffee machine because apparently regular coffee isn't good enough anymore." She laughed a little, then felt silly for laughing alone. "Your grandfather is intense, by the way. He called yesterday to make sure I was maintaining appearances, whatever that means. I think he's worried I'm going to embarrass the family or something." She paused, looking at Daniel's face. The swelling had gone down. He looked more like a person now, less like a patient. He had a strong jawline, dark hair that was getting too long, and these lines around his eyes that made her think he smiled a lot before the accident. "I hope you wake up soon," she whispered. "This whole thing is really weird." The weeks started blurring together. Work, visit Daniel, go home to the big empty mansion, sleep, repeat. But then things got complicated. Rachel started showing up at family dinners again. She'd been avoiding everyone since the wedding, but suddenly she was back, acting like nothing had happened. She'd walk into their parents' house with shopping bags from expensive stores, talking about her modeling gigs and her trips to LA, and she'd look at Lisa with this expression that made Lisa's stomach hurt. Not quite anger, not quite jealousy, something darker. "So how's married life?" Rachel asked one Sunday, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Lisa was helping their mother set the table. "It's fine. Living in that huge house all by yourself? Must be lonely." "Rachel," their father warned. "What?" "I'm just asking. I mean, she's got everything I was supposed to have. The house, the money, the name. Must be nice." Lisa put down the plates she was holding. "You walked away, Rachel. Nobody forced you." "Right. I walked away because I have self-respect. I wasn't going to marry someone in a coma just for money. I didn't do it for money. I did it for Mom and Dad." Rachel laughed, this bitter sound that didn't match her beautiful face. "Sure, keep telling yourself that. But we all know you're living in luxury while I'm still hustling for modeling jobs. You always wanted what I had." That hurt more than Lisa expected. They'd never been close, but they'd never been enemies either. Now Rachel was looking at her like she was a thief who'd stolen something precious. Their mother tried to smooth things over, but the damage was done. Every family gathering after that was tense. Rachel would make little comments, plant little seeds of doubt. Their parents were caught in the middle, grateful to Lisa for saving them, but clearly uncomfortable with how angry Rachel had become. Meanwhile, at Daniel's company, things were getting messy. Harold had insisted Lisa attend some board meetings to show unity and maintain the Hartwell presence. Lisa had no idea what she was doing there. She'd sit in a conference room with 20 people in suits talking about quarterly reports and market shares and things she didn't understand. Daniel's cousin Kevin was the worst. He was only a few years older than Daniel, worked as some kind of executive at the company, and made it very clear he thought Lisa was a fraud. "It's remarkable," Kevin said during one meeting, looking right at her, "how quickly some people can climb the social ladder. Daniel's in a coma for 5 minutes, and suddenly there's a new Mrs. Hartwell sitting in on board meetings." One of the other executives, a man named Tom who'd been Daniel's friend, spoke up. "Kevin, that's inappropriate." "Is it?" "I'm just saying what everyone's thinking. This marriage is a joke, a legal trick to keep control of the company. And we all know it." Lisa felt her face burning. She wanted to disappear, but she forced herself to sit up straighter to meet Kevin's eyes. "You're right," she said quietly. "I don't know anything about running a company. I'm a nurse, but I'm here because Daniel's grandfather asked me to be. And I'm going to keep showing up until Daniel wakes up and can speak for himself." Kevin smirked. "And if he never wakes up? Then I'll deal with that when it happens." After the meeting, Tom walked her to her car. He was in his mid-30s, wore glasses, and had kind eyes. "Don't let Kevin get to you," he said. "He's been waiting for years to take over Daniel's position. He sees you as an obstacle. I'm not trying to be anyone's obstacle. I'm just trying to help, I know. And for what it's worth, I've seen the visitor logs at the hospital. You're there every single day. That's more than most wives would do for a husband they actually chose to marry." Lisa didn't know what to say to that. Tom handed her a folder. "These are some of Daniel's personal things from his office. I thought you might want them. There's a journal in there. He wrote in it sometimes. Might help you understand him better." That night, Lisa sat in the guest room and opened Daniel's journal. His handwriting was messy, scratched out quickly like he didn't have time to make it neat. She flipped through pages of meeting notes and to-do lists, then found entries that were more personal. One caught her eye. Dated about 6 months before the accident. Had dinner with Rachel's family again. Her sister was there, the nurse. She's different from Rachel. Quieter. Asked me actual questions about my work, seemed genuinely interested. Rachel spent the whole dinner on her phone. "I don't know why I'm doing this. This engagement feels like another business deal. Maybe that's all it is." Lisa closed the journal, her heart pounding. Daniel had noticed her. Had thought she was different. Had doubts about Rachel even before the accident. She started reading to him after that. She'd bring books to the hospital and sit by his bed reading out loud. At first it was just random novels, but then she started bringing poetry. She didn't know why. It just felt right. 3 months passed like this. Lisa worked, visited Daniel, endured Rachel's resentment, sat through board meetings where Kevin looked at her like she was dirt on his shoe, went home to a mansion that still didn't feel like home. She was exhausted, not just physically but emotionally. She felt stuck between two worlds. Not quite Daniel's wife, but legally bound to him. Not quite herself anymore, but not anyone else either. Then one Tuesday afternoon, Harold called her into his office in the city. She drove there with her stomach in knots. Sure something terrible had happened. Harold sat behind his massive desk, looking older than he had at the hospital. Tired. "I'm going to be direct with you, Lisa. The 1-year mark is approaching. The board is getting restless. Kevin is pushing harder, and Daniel's doctors say there's no change. I know. My will has a provision in it. If anything happens to me and Daniel is still incapacitated, you'll inherit 40% of his shares. It's meant to protect him from vultures like Kevin." Lisa felt dizzy. "Why are you telling me this?" Harold looked at her for a long moment. "Because I had a heart attack yesterday. Minor one, but a warning. And I want you to understand what's at stake. This isn't just about you playing pretend wife anymore. This is about protecting everything Daniel built." He slid papers across the desk. "Kevin's been digging into the marriage, trying to prove it's fraudulent. You need to be careful. Very careful." Lisa left that office feeling like the walls were closing in. This had been supposed to be simple. A temporary arrangement. Help her parents. Give Daniel a chance to recover. Then walk away. But it was getting more complicated every single day. And the worst part was, she was starting to care. Not about the money or the company or any of that. But about Daniel. About the man in the hospital bed who couldn't defend himself. Who couldn't wake up and tell everyone what he wanted. She went to see him that night, exhausted from everything. "I don't know what I'm doing," she told him, her voice cracking. "Your cousin hates me. My sister hates me. Your grandfather is putting all this pressure on me, and I'm just a nurse who wanted to help people. I never asked for any of this." She put her head down on the edge of his bed, feeling tears she'd been holding back for months finally coming. "Please wake up," she whispered. "Please, I can't do this much longer." The machines beeped their steady rhythm. Daniel didn't move, and Lisa sat there in the dark ICU, more alone than she'd ever felt in her life. It happened on a Thursday afternoon, 6 months after the wedding. Lisa was sitting in her usual chair next to Daniel's bed, reading poetry out loud. She'd gotten into the habit of reading to him every day after work.
Sometimes Shakespeare.
Sometimes modern stuff. Today it was some collection she'd picked up at a bookstore, poems about hope and second chances. She was mid-sentence when she saw it. His finger moved, just a tiny twitch, barely noticeable, but she'd spent so many hours staring at those hands that she knew every detail. That movement was new. Her book dropped to the floor. "Daniel, nothing." She held her breath, watching, waiting. Then his finger moved again. Then his hand. His eyelids started to flutter. Lisa hit the call button so hard she nearly broke it. "I need a doctor." "He's waking up." The next few minutes were chaos. Nurses rushed in. Doctors appeared. They pushed Lisa back, crowding around the bed with their instruments and their questions. She stood pressed against the wall, her heart hammering, watching them work. It took almost a week for Daniel to fully wake up. His eyes would open for a few minutes, then close again. He'd squeeze the doctor's hand when asked, follow a light with his eyes, small things that meant everything. Lisa was there for all of it, but she stayed in the background. She didn't know what to say to him. How do you introduce yourself to your husband who doesn't know you exist? When he was finally alert enough to talk, weak and confused but definitely awake, the doctor explained everything. The accident, the coma, the 6 months he'd lost, and then the doctor told him about Lisa. Daniel's eyes found her across the room. She'd never seen them open before. They were dark brown, confused, searching her face for some kind of recognition that wasn't there. "You're my wife?" His voice was rough from months of not using it. Lisa nodded, staying by the door. "Yes, but it's complicated. I can explain. Where's Rachel?" The question hit Lisa like a punch to the stomach. Of course, he remembered Rachel. His fiancée, the woman he'd actually chosen. She couldn't be here right now. Daniel looked at the doctor, then back at Lisa, suspicion clear on his face even through the exhaustion. "I don't understand. I was engaged to Rachel. Why would I marry you?" The doctor stepped in. "You were in a coma when the marriage took place. There were some legal and medical complications. Perhaps we should let you rest and your wife can explain everything tomorrow when you're stronger." But Daniel was already getting agitated, trying to sit up despite the tube still attached to him. "No, I want to know now. What the hell is going on?" Lisa felt sick. This was the moment she'd been dreading for 6 months. She walked closer to the bed, keeping her voice steady even though her hands were shaking. "Your grandfather said you needed to be married to protect your company and your medical care. Rachel didn't want to do it, so I agreed to help. That's all it is, a legal arrangement. You married me while I was unconscious? I married you to keep you alive," Lisa said quietly. "Your grandfather was going to remove you from life support if someone didn't step up. Nobody else would." Daniel stared at her like she was speaking another language. Then he laughed, this bitter, angry sound that made the nurses glance at each other nervously. "This is insane. This is actually insane. I know it sounds—" "Get out." Lisa froze. "What, get out?" "I don't want you here. I don't know you. I didn't marry you. Whatever legal paperwork says doesn't change that. Get out." The doctor touched Lisa's arm gently. "Maybe give him some time." Lisa nodded, blinking back tears, and left the room. She made it to her car before she started crying. She'd known this might happen. She'd prepared herself for anger and confusion. But hearing the coldness in his voice, seeing him look at her like she was some kind of con artist, hurt more than she'd expected. She didn't go back to the hospital the next day. Or the day after that. She went to work, went through the motions, but she couldn't face Daniel again. Not yet. Meanwhile, Rachel swooped back in. Lisa heard about it from Mrs. Chen, who heard about it from the hospital staff. Rachel had shown up at the hospital in a designer dress, crying beautiful tears, throwing herself at Daniel's bedside. Playing the role of the devoted fiancé who'd been heartbroken by his accident, and Daniel believed her. Of course he did. He remembered Rachel. Remembered dating her, proposing to her, planning a future with her. He had no memories of the months before the accident, no memories of doubting their relationship. To him, Rachel was his love, and Lisa was the stranger who'd taken advantage of him while he was helpless. Rachel wasted no time spinning her version of the story. Lisa heard it third hand, through her mother, who heard it from Rachel herself. "I told Daniel the truth," Rachel had said, that Lisa always had a crush on him, That she saw an opportunity when he was vulnerable and took it. Poor thing always lived in my shadow. I don't blame her for trying to grab some of the spotlight. Lisa felt numb hearing it. Her own sister was destroying her reputation, turning her act of sacrifice into something ugly and selfish. Daniel was transferred out of the ICU after 2 weeks. He was still weak, still doing physical therapy, but improving every day. Lisa signed all the medical paperwork from a distance, making sure he had everything he needed, but she never visited. She couldn't handle seeing Rachel there playing the perfect girlfriend while Daniel looked at Lisa with disgust. But then Tom, Daniel's friend from the company, called her. "We need to talk," he said. "Can you meet me for coffee?" They met at a quiet cafe downtown. Tom brought a folder with him, the kind that meant business. "I've been going through visitor logs," he said, sliding papers across the table. "From the entire time Daniel was in a coma." Lisa looked at the papers. They were hospital records, showing every single person who'd visited Daniel's room over 6 months. Tom pointed at the highlighted lines. "You came every single day, sometimes twice a day before and after your shifts. You're listed here 183 times. Then he pointed at another section. Rachel came 4 times, all in the first week. Then nothing until the day Daniel woke up." Lisa stared at the papers, not sure what to say. "There's more," Tom continued. He pulled out another document. "This is from hospital security. They have cameras in the ICU hallways. I pulled some footage." He showed her his phone, scrolling through time-stamped videos. "Here's you reading to him. Here's you talking to him. Here's you spending your lunch breaks just sitting with him. Why are you showing me this? Because Daniel needs to see it. He thinks you're some gold digger who manipulated the situation. He has no idea that you actually cared, that you showed up every single day for a man you didn't even know. He won't believe it. He'll think I faked it. Maybe, but he deserves to see the truth." Tom leaned forward. "Look, I've known Daniel for 10 years. He's a good guy, fair, logical. Right now he's angry and confused, and Rachel is feeding him a story that makes sense to him. But Daniel always follows the evidence. Always. If you show him proof, he'll listen." Lisa went home that night with the folder Tom had given her. She sat in the guest room of Daniel's mansion, looking at the records, and felt exhausted. Part of her wanted to just walk away. Get a divorce. Go back to her simple life. Let Rachel have Daniel and the company and everything else. But another part of her, the stubborn part that had made her a good nurse, wasn't ready to give up yet. The next morning, she went to the hospital. Her hands were shaking as she walked down the hallway to Daniel's new room. She could hear voices inside. Rachel's laugh. Daniel saying something she couldn't make out. She almost turned around. But then she thought about those 6 months of sitting by his bedside, reading poetry to a man who couldn't hear her, hoping he'd wake up. She had earned the right to defend herself. She knocked on the door. Rachel opened it, her smile vanishing when she saw Lisa. "What are you doing here?" "I need to talk to Daniel. He doesn't want to see you." "Let her in." Daniel's voice came from inside the room. He sounded tired. "Might as well get this over with." Lisa walked in. Daniel was sitting up in bed, looking stronger than the last time she'd seen him, but still pale. Still fragile. Rachel moved to stand next to him like she was protecting him. Lisa put the folder on the table beside his bed. "I'm not here to argue. I just want you to see something. Then I'll leave you alone." Daniel looked at the folder but didn't reach for it. "What is it?" "Proof of what actually happened. The visitor logs, the security footage, everything." Lisa's voice was steady now. She'd made her decision. "You don't remember the months before your accident. You don't remember that things with Rachel weren't good, but it's all documented." Rachel's face went red. "This is ridiculous." "Daniel, don't listen to her. She's making things up." "There's footage," Lisa interrupted, looking at Rachel for the first time. "Of me visiting every day. Of you not showing up for 5.5 months. Of Tom and the other people who actually cared about Daniel being there. It's all time-stamped. All recorded." The room went silent. Daniel reached for the folder. Rachel tried to grab it first, but he pulled it away. "Daniel, please, she's just trying to manipulate you." "Rachel." His voice was quiet but firm. "Let me read it." Lisa backed toward the door. "I'm not asking you to forgive me or like me or anything else. I just wanted you to know the truth. Whatever you decide to do with that information is up to you." She left before he could respond. She walked down the hospital corridor. past the nurses who knew her by name now, out into the parking lot. She sat in her car and waited for her hands to stop shaking. Her phone rang 20 minutes later. It was Daniel's number. She almost didn't answer, but she did. "Come back," Daniel said. His voice was different now, confused, maybe a little scared. "Please, I need to talk to you." "Really talk to you?" Lisa closed her eyes. "Is Rachel there?" "No, I asked her to leave. Just come back, please." She drove back to the hospital, her heart pounding. When she walked into Daniel's room, he was alone, the folder open on his lap, papers spread across his bed. He looked up at her with completely different eyes than before. "You came every day," he said quietly. "Yes." "Why?" Lisa thought about that question. The real answer. Because nobody else would, and because it felt like the right thing to do. Daniel looked down at the papers again. "There's a journal entry here. Something I wrote about you before the accident. About how you were different from Rachel. I don't remember writing it." "You don't remember a lot of things from before the crash." The doctor said that's normal. "Rachel told me you two were never close, that you always wanted what she had." Rachel's angry. "I get it. She thinks I stole her life." "Did you?" Daniel looked at her directly. "Did you see an opportunity and take it?" Lisa met his eyes. "No. I saw a man who was going to die because nobody would help him. I did what I had to do. That's all." Things changed slowly after that conversation. Daniel didn't suddenly trust Lisa or want to be best friends. But he stopped looking at her like she was the enemy. He started asking questions. Real ones. "Tell me about the day we got married," he said one afternoon while she was visiting. So Lisa told him. About the hospital chapel ceremony. About how scared she'd been. About the judge who looked uncomfortable and Harold standing there like it was just another business deal. Daniel listened without interrupting, his face unreadable. "That sounds awful," he finally said. "It was pretty weird," Lisa admitted. "I'm sorry you had to go through that." It was the first time he'd apologized. Lisa didn't know what to say, so she just nodded. Daniel was getting stronger every day. He could walk now with help. Could stay awake for longer periods. The doctors were amazed by his recovery. He'd started working again too, taking calls from his office, reviewing reports Tom brought him. Kevin wasn't happy about Daniel waking up. At all. Lisa could see it in every board meeting she attended. Kevin's face would get tight whenever Daniel called in via video to discuss company matters. He'd lost his chance to take over and he was furious about it. Then things got worse. Harold had a massive heart attack 3 weeks after Daniel woke up. He died before the ambulance even arrived. The funeral was huge, full of business people and politicians and society folks who probably didn't even know Harold personally. Lisa stood in the back, feeling out of place in a black dress that Mrs. Chen had insisted she buy. Daniel was there in a wheelchair, still too weak to stand for long periods. Rachel was next to him holding his hand, playing the supportive fiancé. Lisa tried not to look at them. After the funeral, Harold's lawyer called a meeting. The whole family gathered in a conference room at the law office. Daniel, Lisa, Rachel, their parents, Kevin, some other Hartwell relatives. Lisa had never met. The lawyer opened Harold's will and started reading. Most of it was expected. Money to various charities, some to family members. The house to Daniel, then came the shocking part. "To my grandson Daniel's wife, Lisa, I leave 40% of Daniel's company shares, to be held in her name regardless of the status of her marriage, provided she remains married to Daniel for a minimum of 1 year from the date of their wedding." The room exploded. Kevin jumped to his feet. "That's insane. She's not even really his wife." "The marriage is legal," the lawyer said calmly. "Therefore the inheritance is valid." Rachel's face had gone completely white. 40%? Are you kidding me? Lisa felt like she couldn't breathe. 40%. That was hundreds of millions of dollars worth of company shares. Maybe more. She looked at Daniel, but he was staring at the lawyer in shock. "There's more." The lawyer continued. "Harold left a letter." He pulled out an envelope and handed it to Lisa. Her hands were shaking as she opened it. Inside was a single page in Harold's sharp handwriting. "Lisa, by the time you read this, I'll be gone. I know this inheritance will cause problems. That's intentional. I've watched you these past months. You're the only person in this whole mess who cared about Daniel as a person, not as a bank account or a business opportunity. You showed up every day when no one else would. You asked nothing in return. That kind of character is rare. These shares aren't a reward. They're a responsibility. Protect my grandson. Keep the vultures away. You're stronger than you think. Harold. Lisa folded the letter with tears in her eyes. She'd barely known Harold, but apparently he'd been watching her the whole time. Kevin was still ranting. This is fraud. That marriage was fake. I'm going to contest this will. You can try, the lawyer said, but it's airtight. Harold had 3 different law firms review it. The meeting ended badly. Kevin stormed out making threats. Rachel left without looking at anyone. Daniel asked Tom to take him home. He didn't say a word to Lisa. Lisa's parents cornered her in the parking lot. 40%, her mother whispered. Honey, do you know what this means? It means everyone's going to hate me even more than they already do, Lisa said tiredly. Her father looked uncomfortable. Maybe you should think about what you want to do with all that money. We could finally— No, Lisa cut him off. Whatever you're about to ask for, the answer is no. I'm not using Harold's gift to fix everyone else's problems. She drove home alone, her head spinning. When she got to the mansion, Mrs. Chen met her at the door with worried eyes. Mr. Daniel wants to see you. He's in the study. Lisa found Daniel sitting in a leather chair, papers spread around him. He looked exhausted. We need to talk, he said. Lisa sat down across from him. Okay, Kevin's going to challenge the will. He's going to try to prove our marriage was fake, that you manipulated me and my grandfather. I know. He's already hired investigators. They're going to dig into everything. Your life, your family, looking for any dirt they can find. Daniel leaned forward. Is there anything I should know? Anything that could hurt us? Us? We're in this together now, whether we like it or not. Those shares make you a target. And if Kevin can prove fraud, we both lose everything. Lisa thought about it. My family's broke. Everyone knows that. Rachel hates me. Also not a secret. I married you to help my parents and to keep you alive. All documented. I don't have any secrets, Daniel. My life is pretty boring. Daniel studied her face. Why didn't you tell me about the will provision? About the 40%? Because I didn't know. Harold never told me. I thought I was just buying time, helping out for a year, then walking away. Do you want the shares? It was a loaded question. Lisa could hear the suspicion in it, the test. Honestly? No, it scares me. That much money. That much power. I'm a nurse. I don't know anything about running a company. But you're not giving them up, would you? If someone left you something in their will, would you just hand it over to people who hate you? Lisa met his eyes. Harold gave me those shares for a reason. He said to protect you. So that's what I'm going to do. Something shifted in Daniel's expression. Not quite trust, but maybe respect. Kevin found something, he said quietly. Or he thinks he did. He's claiming Rachel was embezzling money from the company during my coma. Lisa felt cold. What? He brought it to the board this morning. Says he has proof that someone used your name and access to move money around. Millions of dollars, and that's impossible. I never touched anything. I just signed medical forms. I know. But you gave Rachel power of attorney at one point, didn't you? For medical decisions? Lisa's stomach dropped. She had. Right after the wedding, when things were confusing and Rachel was pretending to be helpful, Rachel had said it would make things easier, that hospitals would need backup authorization. Lisa had signed without thinking much about it. Oh no, Lisa whispered, yeah. Daniel pulled out a folder. Tom's been investigating quietly. It looks like Rachel used that power of attorney to access accounts linked to you as my spouse. She's been moving money for months. Small amounts at first, then bigger ones. She thought I'd never wake up. Thought she could take the money and disappear. Where is she now? We don't know. She stopped answering her phone yesterday. After the will reading, Lisa felt sick. Her own sister. How much did she take? About $3 million so far. Maybe more. The forensic accountants are still tracking everything. $3 million. Lisa couldn't even comprehend that much money. I need to call my parents. They don't know. I already checked. Rachel's been hiding this from everyone. Lisa stood up, pacing. This is insane. Why would she do this? Because she's angry. Because she thinks you stole her life. Because she could. Daniel wheeled himself closer. Listen to me. When this comes out, it's going to get ugly. The press will be all over it. Kevin's going to use it against both of us, say we're all corrupt. Your family is going to be devastated. I know. I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest. Lisa turned to face him. Okay. Did you have any idea Rachel was doing this? Any suspicion at all? No, I swear. I didn't even know I had access to those accounts. I thought I was just signing hospital paperwork. Daniel looked at her for a long moment. I believe you. Those 3 words meant more than Lisa expected. After months of suspicion and anger, hearing Daniel say he believed her made something in her chest unclench. What do we do now? She asked. Now we call the police. We press charges, and we prepare for your sister to hate you even more. The police came that evening. Lisa gave her statement, showed them all the documents, explained everything. They were kind but thorough. By midnight, there was a warrant out for Rachel's arrest. Lisa called her parents to warn them. Her mother cried. Her father kept saying he didn't understand. Neither did Lisa. Rachel was arrested 3 days later trying to board a plane to Monaco. She had 2 suitcases full of cash and a one-way ticket. The news crews were there for everything. Cameras catching her being led away in handcuffs, her perfect makeup running with tears. Lisa's phone wouldn't stop ringing. Reporters, old friends, random people wanting comments. She turned it off and sat in the dark living room of the mansion, feeling numb. Daniel found her there around midnight. He'd been at the office all day dealing with the fallout. How are you holding up? He asked. My sister's in jail. My parents won't talk to me because they think I'm responsible somehow. The entire world thinks our family is full of criminals, so, not great. Daniel sat down next to her. Not too close, but closer than before. For what it's worth, you handled your police interview really well. You were honest, straightforward, that matters. She's my sister, Lisa said quietly. I know she was awful to me. I know she did terrible things. But she's still my sister. And part of me feels like I should have seen this coming. You couldn't have known, maybe. Or maybe I was so focused on surviving this whole situation that I missed what was right in front of me. Lisa looked at him. Do you remember anything about her yet? About your relationship before the accident? Pieces, flashes, nothing concrete. Daniel was quiet for a moment. But I've been reading my journal, the one Tom gave you, and based on what I wrote, I don't think I was very happy. That doesn't make this easier. No, it doesn't. They sat in silence for a while. 2 people who'd been forced together by impossible circumstances, now bound together by scandal and inheritance and questions neither of them knew how to answer. The trial took 4 months. 4 months of lawyers and courtrooms and reporters camping outside Lisa's workplace. 4 months of watching Rachel sit at the defense table, refusing to look at her. 4 months of their parents sitting behind Rachel, supporting her, barely acknowledging that Lisa existed. Lisa had to testify. She sat in that witness box and told the truth about everything. The power of attorney. The signatures. How she'd trusted Rachel because she was family. The prosecutor was gentle with her. Rachel's lawyer was not. Isn't it true, Mrs. Hartwell, that you benefited greatly from this entire situation? The defense attorney asked, his voice dripping with implication. I never wanted any of this, Lisa said quietly. But you got it anyway, didn't you? A mansion, millions in company shares, all while your sister, the woman who was actually supposed to marry Daniel, got nothing. That's not how it happened, isn't it? Isn't it possible that you and Rachel planned this together? That you're only testifying against her now to protect yourself? Lisa felt tears burning her eyes, but she kept her voice steady. No, I loved my sister. I trusted her. And she betrayed that trust. I'm here because what she did was wrong, not because I wanted her life. The jury believed her. They convicted Rachel on multiple counts of fraud and embezzlement. She got 5 years in prison. When the verdict was read, Rachel finally looked at Lisa. The hatred in her eyes was so intense it made Lisa physically recoil. Their mother stood up and pointed at Lisa. This is your fault. You destroyed this family. Then they left. They didn't speak to Lisa again. Daniel was there through all of it. He came to court every day, sitting in the back, a silent presence of support. When reporters shoved microphones in Lisa's face asking if her marriage was real, Daniel would step in front of her, his hand on her back, guiding her to the car. Why are you doing this? Lisa asked him one night after a particularly brutal day in court. They were sitting in his study, both exhausted. Doing what? Protecting me. Supporting me. You don't owe me anything. Daniel was quiet for a moment. You sat by my hospital bed for 6 months. You read poetry to me when you thought I couldn't hear. You fought my cousin to protect my company. You married me to keep me alive when you had no reason to care. He looked at her. Maybe I'm just returning the favor. Something had shifted between them during those months. The anger was gone. The suspicion. They'd started having dinner together most nights, talking about their days. Daniel told her stories about building his company, about the mistakes he'd made, about his grandfather. Lisa told him about patients at the hospital, about why she became a nurse, about the family she'd lost. They were becoming friends. Real friends. And maybe something more, though neither of them wanted to admit it yet. Kevin made one last attempt to challenge Harold's will after the trial ended. He claimed Lisa's connection to a convicted criminal made her unfit to hold company shares. The judge threw it out in less than an hour. Kevin was removed from the company entirely after that, bought out and sent away with a settlement and a non-compete agreement. Tom threw a small party to celebrate. Just a few close friends at Daniel's house. Lisa made appetizers in the kitchen while Daniel hosted, and it felt almost normal. Like they were actually married. Like this was actually their life. "You two are good together," Tom said, cornering Lisa by the snack table. "You know that, right? We're just making the best of a weird situation." "Sure. Keep telling yourself that." Tom grinned. "But I've known Daniel for a decade. I've never seen him this happy. Not even with Rachel." Lisa didn't know what to say to that. Later, after everyone left, Lisa helped Daniel clean up. They worked in comfortable silence, him loading the dishwasher, her putting away food. "The 1-year mark is next week," Daniel said suddenly. Lisa froze. She'd been trying not to think about it. "I know. Legally, you fulfilled your obligation. The shares are yours regardless now. You could file for divorce. Walk away. Is that what you want?" Daniel turned to face her. "I'm not sure what I want anymore. 6 months ago, I woke up angry at you. Now." He trailed off, running a hand through his hair. "Now I can't imagine you not being here." Lisa's heart was pounding. "Daniel, I know this started wrong. I know we got married for all the wrong reasons. But somewhere along the way, it started feeling right." He took a step closer. "I like coming home and knowing you'll be here. I like talking to you. I like who I am when I'm with you. You're still recovering. Your memories are still mixed up. You don't know what you're feeling. My memories are fine now, and I know exactly what I'm feeling." Daniel reached out, gently taking her hand. "I'm falling for you, Lisa. Maybe I already have. And if you want to leave, I'll understand. I'll sign whatever papers you want. But if there's any chance you feel the same way..." Lisa kissed him. She didn't plan to. Didn't think about it. She just leaned forward and pressed her lips to his. Her heart hammering, her hands shaking. Daniel pulled her closer, his hand cupping her face, kissing her back like he'd been waiting months to do exactly this. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Lisa laughed. It came out shaky and emotional. "This is crazy. Yeah. We got married in a hospital while you were in a coma. I know. My sister's in prison. Your cousin hates us. My parents won't talk to me. I know all of that. And you still want this? Want us?" Daniel smiled. It was the first real smile she'd seen from him, the kind that reached his eyes and made him look younger. "I don't want the marriage we had. The fake one. The one based on legal obligations and hospital paperwork." Lisa's heart sank. "Oh, I want to divorce you," Daniel continued, and Lisa's confusion must have shown on her face because he laughed. "And then I want to date you. Actually date you. Take you to dinner. Learn your favorite flowers. Do this the right way. And maybe, if we're really lucky, we can get married again someday. For real this time. Because we choose to." Lisa felt tears running down her face, but she was smiling. "That's the most ridiculous plan I've ever heard. Is that a yes?" "That's a yes." They filed for divorce 2 weeks later. It was the strangest divorce in history, with both parties smiling and holding hands while signing the papers. The lawyer looked completely confused. "Are you too sure about this?" he asked. "Very sure," Daniel said, squeezing Lisa's hand. The divorce was finalized in 30 days. Lisa moved out of the mansion and got her own apartment. Something small and modest that felt like her. She kept working at the hospital, kept being herself. Daniel picked her up for their first official date on a Friday night. He brought flowers. Sunflowers, because he'd asked Mrs. Chen what Lisa's favorites were. "Hi," he said when she opened the door, suddenly looking nervous. "Hi," Lisa said back, feeling like a teenager on her first date. They went to a small Italian restaurant. No fancy country clubs or expensive places where people would recognize them.